It's been a while. I thought I would record a video of this crucial point in my game of Storm of Steel, the First World War, the whole campaign. As you can see, we're just about to start the winter quarter in 1917. I think my last video was way back in 1915 at some point. So I haven't recorded a while because I had such great fun playing the game. I just wanted to get on playing the game. Not be slowed down with the videos, but I thought I'd come back because you can see from this how things are hotting up. Look at the stacks of reinforcements coming in. So these are builds from mobilizations that the sides have been bringing in. We've got 4 fortresses being built by Russia. We got shock troops coming for the Germans. We've got tank brigades coming in for the Entente powers. And this is going to be an all-important year for several reasons. The first of that being the state of the morale track. If a side reaches morale of 0, the game ends. The Entente is on 20, the Central Powers is on 40. In the last year they took a massive drop from being high morale right the way down to here, essentially because the Entente have now started their own drive through Italy. But the Entente had in fact dropped down to 10 at the end of 1916. They only rose up by a whole 10 points because Romania has joined the war on their side, which is greatly going to assist them. I'll show you the map situation in a minute. So morale is quite close. For the Entente, it has been on a dice edge, a knife edge I should say, and it was looking for a while there that they were definitely going to lose the game, but thanks to Romania joining, they've been given some respite, which means that the second point is what this is all about, is that in the spring of 1917 you can roll for American entry into the war. There's no definite thing, so it's not like with Romania they can automatically join, and Bulgaria and Italy and the Ottomans. This is the earliest possible entry, and what will have to happen is that the Entente play a diplomacy card and make a roll on that. If their morale is low, they actually get a bonus, so as America sort of jumps in to save democracy, so they're likely to get it at the there or the summer, autumn at the very least, I think, and that's going to jump their morale by 20 points, which will then bring them, if it happened now, that will bring them on to complete parity with the Central Powers. So at the same time, the Central Powers, they're able in autumn, so a bit later in 1917, they get a -2 roll on any revolution check, and they are desperately hoping for a revolution check to be required. It hasn't come up yet, but it's at the end of every turn it could happen on a roll of 1 on the d6, and with now we're entering -7, there's a -1 modifier, and then with morale of low there's another -1 modifier, so it's going to happen sooner or later. It might even happen that autumn. If it happens, they will go for a revolution check in Russia, so that they will offer that separate piece that way. So they need to hold Riga or Kiev. Now they do hold Riga, and you can see they're making a drive on Petrograd. That is their aim, to increase again that likelihood of revolution occurring. This is their front. There's 3 mighty shock troops there, a whole shock army effectively, and 2 other armies on either side, and they're holding a cordon down here. Now the Russians have actually been retreating because it got to the point where the Russians were taking so many losses each turn that they were just bringing down the Entente morale. So the higher ups decided, look, just let Germany enter further and further into the country, I have to say they weren't letting up here, but they've moved back this way, just to not put their armies in the way of the German war machine. Having said that, there is a Russian army surrounded there that is proving hard to destroy, and essentially that is because of this. You can see Italy, so it's the soft underbelly in the First World War. So we've got the Brits, we've got the French, and we got the Italians, and they've all made incursion here through Bolzano and a city down there into Austria-Hungary. And the Austria-Hungary units, they can never get quite as strong as, say, the Germans. So the Germans have had to start withdrawing forces from the east to hold their border. And they were even helping Austria-Hungary. They were trying to help Austria-Hungary combined with Bulgaria to take out Bosnia once and for all. But it didn't work. It proved too hard in the mountainous terrain there to do it. So they've instead pulled out here to help stem off Romania from Hungary. So you can see how Romania entering really helps, because this border was completely undefended. There was no need for anyone to be there. But now Romania's helping there, and then also they could potentially try and invade Bulgaria, and then that could lead ways on to Constantinople, which would create great troubles. So Bulgaria is having to pull back, and you can see the Serbian army is actually quite strong. They've got fair few units there, sort of 12, some four division corps and a couple of 2 division corps there. So between Serbia and Romania, the Bulgarians are going to have trouble, and that will cause the Ottomans trouble. Further movements, so the Brits have come in through Salonika and have been moving up through Greece. Greece has joined on the Entente side. And then swinging up, just a quick look on the Western Front, not much happening there. The French have been trying their hardest. They brought up shock troops, they developed those. The Brits have joined in because they have bigger, or stronger at least, corps on the whole, but not even compared to the Germans. And they've been using poison gas attacks. Poison gas is a bit risky. It kind of, you have a 2 out of 6, so 1 out of 3 chance of it helping you, and a 1 in 6 chance of it not helping you. And they've taken a few losses from backfires on their own poison gas and not having much effect. The Germans have been able to feed in reinforcements, and here there's no point really making any headway. The Germans pulled back their front to make a sort of more united line, so there was no bulges, nowhere where the Entente could get 3 kind of armies onto 1 army. So that's stalemate. And then over here let me move around a bit closer. So this is Jerusalem. Now this has been really exciting in the Middle Eastern front. So essentially you can see there's actually a Turkish fortress here and Turkish units here. They actually took Port Said, Suez and Cairo off the British. They managed to cut, the British had an expeditionary force there supplied from Alexandria, and they managed to cut them off. And even though the Italians sent navy in the unit, it didn't help. So the Ottomans had overrun here, and then the Brits, again assisted by the Italian navy, made a landing in Haifa. So you can see Lawrence of Arabia has been bringing, these are guerrilla forces in play. And then there's a similar, Wasmus, I think of Kazakhstan or someone, is the Central Powers version of Lawrence of Arabia. So they've been sort of assisting by these partisan forces. And the Ottomans very carelessly, because I piled them in to try and push to take Alexandria as well as some kind of it wasn't really necessary. I mean, it would mean the Brits couldn't land, or the Entente couldn't land, but then that would only make sense if I'd looked after Hyper, which I hadn't. So the Entente saw their chance. They landed a couple of units there, and the Ottomans quickly withdrew back. And you can see they're protecting Jerusalem, and they're going to have to move around, protect any push on Damascus and so forth. God forbid they reach Baghdad or even Constantinople. So similarly up in the north, their thwarted plan to take the oil fields of Baku backfired. The Russians just sent up enough reinforcement to hold them off. They couldn't do it, so they're withdrawing back there. And so essentially that's the point. You can see England is full. These are fleets. That's markers of fleets. And England is full of reinforcements. They've got all their reserves coming on. They're down. Practically every British unit, infantry unit that could be built is built, or mobilised, I should say. Not so the French. They could mobilise more. You can see they still got more. They're mobilising on, but essentially they're holding a stalemate in the west and coming up through here. So the Central Powers, they lost a lot of units trying to defend that. It's essentially the Austro-Hungarians that are losing the morale points through unit losses for the Central Powers, unfortunately. So they're kind of like the Russia of the Central Powers. And I think of ways to move them away, so we've got the stronger German armies to hold the line. But it's difficult. I've realised that I haven't kept a pace of headquarters, because your corps all have to be within a certain distance of headquarters, so I've got a few kind of outliers, but you know, you can see it creates gaps. If these Austro-Hungarians are emptied, then or if the Entente decide to land at Fiume, or try one here at Cattaro, straight up through there. So it's great fun. It's all coming down. So this is going to be a crucial year. Essentially, if I thought that the Entente were beat, and I was thinking, oh, you know, that was a bit easy, but then they make this comeback, and I think that's the way it's going to be, is that their morale is going to plummet quicker than the Central Powers, who, especially with the tactic that I used, the von Moltke the Elder plan, so invasion in the east. But if the Entente can hold on as they are, it looks like they're going to make a comeback, especially when America joins the war. So it's all going to come down to that. I think the Central Powers problem now is how they can cause damage, because the Russians are sort of moving back. There's no more industrial cities to take in there, so no more major morale hits to give the Entente through there. So they've been trying to do it by subversion and secret agent warfare. It was becoming successful through they've got the Entente merchant shipping down to their second level, so that's taking morale. If they can bring it down even further, that's hefty morale hits. You could have a 10-point morale hit to the Entente, but they've been taking attrition. They've lost their transport, so these commerce raiders are not supplied on the high seas satisfactorily, so they are going to be diminishing through attrition very quickly. So that's the situation, and I'm going to start the winter 1917 turn. It's going to be very quiet because no one's spending. The trouble now is that people aren't that keen on offensives, because if you don't reach, for example, you know, like the Neville offensive, eliminate 10 German land units. If you don't make that, you take a 10 morale hit. So although you get 2 right on the combats and 2 extra impulses, you have to, at this point, you have to guarantee you're going to do it. It will gain you 10 morale, which would be fantastic. But if somehow you don't manage it, that could bring you down to the ropes or lose you the game. So people are being very cautious on their offensives at the moment. The only offensives in the winter are going to be Gallipoli, and they are actually going for Gallipoli to capture Nottingham Fortress. So that will be an amphibious operation, and which should actually be quite an easy one because there's no city in that hex. Or maybe there is a tiny one there. And then the Van der Gorlitz offensive. So in the Middle East, the Ottomans are hoping to recapture Haifa for 5 morale point gain. And Hindenburg is being played on this front too to give them 2 right modifier, because in winter you get a 1 left modifier, 2 left if you're